Hi friends, I have a super exciting DIY for you all today. I posted a little sneak peek of this on my Instagram and so many of you messaged me like, you need to post the DIY right now. I'm finally getting around to it. This is probably the easiest, most affordable DIY TV frame you could probably make. It only cost me $30. So simple. You don't need any like special tools or anything like that. The secret to this TV frame is this peel and stick molding. It's super flexible and we'll talk a little bit of the pros and cons about that, but this is it. This is the secret. So I have a 65-inch TV, which is really large, so I wanted a very specific size frame for it. I didn't want it to be too thick of a frame because then our TV would look too big for the console table. So for our TV, our 65-inch, I bought one roll of this, which I think was 16 feet if I'm not mistaken. So if you have a smaller TV than that, you will probably just need one roll and you should be good to go, and you'll probably have excess like I did. And if you want a wider frame, there's tons of different molding options, so it doesn't have to necessarily be this like 1.5 inch one, I think it was. There's like 3-inch sizes, 2-inch sizes. There's a ton of options. I'll make sure to link some in the description below so that you can check those options out. But yeah, basically the key is this flexible molding, and it's peel and stick, so it'll be super easy to apply. And then other tools that you'll need, I used a scissor to cut this with. If you have one of those like 45-degree molding cutters, even better. It'll make this so much easier. But if not, a simple scissor is all you need. So you really only need this molding, a scissor, and something to measure it with, a measuring tape or a meter stick, whatever you have. And then the couple of extra supplies that I used super glue and a Sharpie marker and gold rub and buff. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but really you only need 3 things: this molding, a scissor, and something to measure it with. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to take all of your measurements. You're going to want to measure from the outer edge of your TV to the other outer edge, and then from the top to the top. And then you'll also want to measure the insides of your TV. So that's like the little edge part right in here. You'll want to measure from inner edge to inner edge, and then from inner edge to inner edge. So first I measured out from edge to edge on the molding, and I cut it at both sides. And then I just had my husband kind of like hold it on one end while I held it on the other, and I marked where the inner edges would be. So let's say it looks like this, and this is your outer edge, and then you mark your inner edge, let's say like right here. You would cut from your outer edge to the inner edge in an angle. So that would create your 45-degree angle. If you have one of those molding cutters that already has like the angle, even easier, you could just do that. You don't have to do all like the inner measuring parts. But since I didn't have that, I needed to figure out another way to do that. So that was basically what I did. So this would be the outer edge and the inner edge, and then I just cut across. It's not going to be a perfect cut because this is kind of, again, like it's very malleable and it's really thick. Like you can see it goes like up and down. So a scissor is not going to cut it perfectly straight. So when you do put the pieces together, it might not be a perfect fit. And that's why I use the crazy glue. And again, it's so soft and moldable that you can't tell. So I literally would just squeeze the pieces together with a little bit of glue in between, and you could barely see the seam. Now, depending on the style and look you want for your frame, then you could either stick it on now, or you would have to like spray paint it and adjust it to your liking and then glue it on. So I knew that I wanted to rub and buff it, which is why I specifically bought the black colored one. There's other color options as well. So I stuck on all the pieces first onto my TV, and then I rub and buffed it. I used the European gold color rub and buff. That is my absolute favorite color. I've used a bunch of other ones before, but that is the one that I always go back to. It just looks like this gorgeous antique brass, and that's the one that matches all of like our gold antique brass hardware in our apartment. So that's the one that works best for me. So I just used this little brush and I just would like dab it on. The beauty of the rub and buff is that you can add as little as you want or as much as you want. You can also even use a paper towel to like rub some off to give it a different effect. So you could really play with that and adjust it to your liking and make it look however you'd like. I went for something like in between full coverage and still leaving like peaks of the black showing. And then any of the white pieces that were peeking through, if like the lines didn't align perfectly, I just used this gold Sharpie marker. I'll make sure to link everything below. And I just dabbed that onto like the little white parts that were showing. This is the part that I mean, like this is the white inside of the molding. So that's what I used this Sharpie on. The rub and buff doesn't work as well on this because it's almost translucent. So I used this that was a bit darker. Again, completely optional. If you line the seams up perfectly, you probably won't even need this, but I'm not an expert DIYer, so I had to make it work. Now, a couple of like forewarnings. The adhesive is really sticky, so if I even try to like remove the red backing on it, like it sticks to it so much. So that's just something you just need to be a little bit careful with. As far as how the removal process will be, I don't know because we haven't removed it yet. So I'm anticipating that there'll probably be at least a little bit of adhesive residue over it, but that's something that I'm perfectly fine with. A little bit of Goo Gone and that'll be gone in no time. So it is pretty sticky, but it's not sticky enough that like you cannot adjust as you're placing it. So don't worry too much about that. You can like peel it back and put it back on if you messed up or anything like that. It's also, like I mentioned, it's like very malleable, so it's very easy for it to start like curving. So if you do have a level, you could use that as you stick on the pieces, but otherwise like you can eyeball it and it looks perfectly fine. That's what I did. I would just step back every once in a while and look at it and make sure that it was straight. But if you don't have a good eye for like level and like straight lines, then I would recommend a level for that. And again, you can always adjust it as you go. And I also wanted to mention, I do not have a Samsung TV. I'm sure it'll look great on those as well, but mine is just a regular TV. So that just goes to show you that it's really easy to do on any television. These Samsung Art TVs are absolutely gorgeous, and maybe one day I'll be able to afford them. But for now, it was just so out of our budget that we decided we'd rather save that money and use it for something else. So we just got a regular TV. This one is absolutely huge. It's a 65-inch like smart TV, and I think we paid less than $500 for it. So I think $500 is what you would pay for the frame for the Samsung TV. Our TV does stick out a little bit from the wall because of the mount that we use, and the back of our TV also has like a bit of thickness to it. So that's just something to keep in mind. I don't think it looks bad. I mean, obviously from the side you can kind of see it. From the front, it looks like a frame hanging, so it doesn't look like it's sticking out so far from the wall that it just looks awkward. And from the side as well, you can barely see the side. So I think it looks really, really great. And again, this is so easy to do. Most of the DIY TV frames I had seen involved like some type of woodwork. Even if the molding was inexpensive, you would probably still need tools for it. So like a saw to cut the wood. Definitely you would need something to measure the angles for the wood. It wouldn't be as simple as cutting with a scissor across like I did with this. And you would probably need like stains and things like that for the wood as well. Wood glue to put the pieces together. So it just involved a lot of supplies that I probably wouldn't use again and that I didn't want to spend money on. So I tried to find the most inexpensive way to do that. So I hope that this helps you all. If you try this DIY, definitely tag me in your pictures. I would love to see how they turned out. Share this with all your friends that might also want a more affordable DIY TV frame option. I'll link as many things as I can below, all the supplies I use, even our TV. Like I said, our TV is not a Samsung TV, and even on this regular TV, it looks really great. This is probably one of the cheapest projects I've done. I already had everything else on hand, so it was definitely a really great project. This project, like I said, is pretty simple, but if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. And make sure that you are following me on Instagram and that you are subscribed for more DIY videos and home decor content. But I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye!